The Ball Up Top podcast. I'm here with my boy Jabari.
Yes,
What's
sir.
good, man?
Good. How about you, gang?
And we've had a lot of good games. You know I'm happy. Celtics won. So, I'm
Yeah, he
here
took
to
care of
gloat.
business tonight.
Nah, nah, I don't do that. We're here to talk ball. But, yeah, the Celtics, we definitely going to talk about that game because they look good. And JT was balling. Derek and Al Horford looked good. That was my biggest takeaway with Al because that was probably his best game of the season.
Yeah, it was.
So, but your boy Garland, if he would have played a little better, it might have been like it was actually pretty close. I mean, we only won by a couple points. But what do you think about the game?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I kind of don't want to put that game squarely on Garland, but I kind of have to put that game squarely on Garland because if he makes three more shots, I mean, they probably win. To be honest, like would they win? How much does Celtics win by? Like 4 or 5 points?
Yeah, no, I mean that's legit. He was bad. He was awful.
Yeah, he was bad.
But
Okay.
no, I go ahead, man. Talk about Garland because that's your like one of your favorite players.
Yeah, he was mess. He was missing wide open shots. He was short on a couple of finishes at the rim. He got blocked by Al like twice. Yeah, he just had a overall bad offensive game. But what was encouraging is that he actually held up defensively. So I do like that. But he does need to play much better offensively versus the Celtics if I mean because their goal is to at least try to challenge Boston in the playoffs. So in order for them to be able to win the series, he has to show up. So he has to
No,
play
that's a
better
fact.
offensively.
He will though, but I think that length gives him a little problem. But it was mostly he was missing shots that he usually makes.
Yeah, he
Like
just
little
yeah.
floaters, wide open threes. I saw him missing, and he's way better than that. But and people were like, because I had Garland in my top 25.
Hmm.
Somebody hit me up saying, "I don't want to hear you talking about Garland no more. He's a lemon." I'm like, nah. But yeah, I was like, he's been playing amazing all season, so I'm not gonna you know, like trash him that bad or anything. I think he just
Right.
had a bad game. They all have Tatum has games like that. Jalen has games like that. Like Donovan Mitchell has games like that. Like everybody has games like that, and he just happened to have one. But he's gonna have to show up like at least 4 times if he's gonna beat them, even get close to being Celtics in a series.
Yeah.
But but I think Joe Mazzulla is starting to be like to me one of the best coaches in the NBA, and I don't think that's talked about enough. The team, it's like they all have super confidence. They didn't have all this confidence a couple years ago, and I know it's continuity, but this continuity has kind of been there for years already, and it's something that Joe's doing, or obviously everybody's taking a leap, so that's important. And we'll see what happens with KP. The big picture for me with the Celtics is that like I don't trust KP to stay healthy.
Right.
That's
So
my biggest thing.
so
I don't.
basically, the team that you have right now is the team that you expect to have in the playoffs. Like
Yeah,
not
so I'm
including
looking
KP.
at squarely at Al Horford as my most important piece on the team, besides like the main players, like Tatum and Brown, obviously. But
Right.
Al Horford is the most because man, and Kata gave us some good minutes, and some Celtics fans hate Kata
Hmm.
or kind of hate on Kata, and they like Cornette better, which me, I'm like the opposite. But the numbers kind of say that Cornette. But like in certain matchups, like today, you didn't even see Cornette out there because Kata's a little better side on his feet and playing, not just being like goofy and uncoordinated out there sometimes. Fucking Cornette drives me crazy, so I'm always like mad at Cornette whenever he's in the game. I'm like, oh my god, here we go. But
Right.
sometimes he has like a random good game and he'll like redeem himself. But our big rotation scares me. I know a lot of people hate the Celtics. They're wishing on our downfall. And if that's the thing, that if you're wishing on our downfall, then it's going to be because of Al Horford. Sometimes in the playoffs, he can't hit his threes because he
Hmm.
has to play so hard on defense. And if he's the only one out there, and like Xavier Tillman is not what I wanted him to be because he can play defense, but he can't really score. He's not a good
Offensively,
offensive player,
right.
period. He's like pretty much he's borderline unplayable offensively. And so we were hoping that he could hit threes, but he wasn't. And our rotation without KP is not as deep as I would say that people would think. Charles Barkley and Shaq were saying that if they're not hitting their threes, that's how you beat them, because they're missing their threes and stuff, which is kind of true because we can't rebound. Horford's not a good rebounder because he doesn't want to exert a lot of energy.
Right, because of his
Because
age, he has to
yeah,
save
and he
himself
knows
throughout the
that
game.
he's like in it for the marathon.
Right.
So he's not gonna like go like super playoff Al Horford in the fucking whatever game of the season. So that's why I'm just worried about that, him getting tired in the playoffs, and then KP not being healthy. But I want KP to be healthy because with Porzingis, I feel like there's no question in my mind that we'll win. But that is, obviously teams could beat us. Like something could happen, somebody could tweak an ankle, shit like
Mm-hmm.
that. But otherwise, I don't feel confident that KP is going to be healthy. I just don't. So that's my thing. But I still think we have a chance to win even when he's not. But it's a lot less. Um, but
Guaranteed.
yeah, it's a lot less guaranteed. But I think Tatum has taken a leap this year.
Yeah,
Where
he
I'm way
has.
more confident Tatum. In past years, I was like, I don't know, he has to work on this, he has to work on that, he has to work on this. Now I don't feel like that as much. I feel like his biggest thing is shot
Shot
selection.
selection. The
Yeah,
step
because he
back, yeah,
takes hard shots. Yeah,
that step back to the air ball. I think it was like in the fourth, for like 8 minutes left. It kind of gave the Cavs a little momentum. So like things like that. But other than that, I don't really have too many complaints with him, to be honest. It's just
I
the
know, and that's
selection and
that's good. That means
points
he's
again.
stepping into that realm of like being consistent every single night, which is all we want from him. And he's finishing off 2 feet. That's what I tweeted today. I was like,
Yeah,
he finishing off 2 feet more than he ever has, and I've been asking for him to do that because he hasn't been finishing off 2 feet like he always would go off 1 foot, and he
and
would
that's
get
why
knocked
he
off
always
balance
yeah, that's why he
more
always
easy.
misses short when he usually goes off one. So
Right,
I do agree with that.
exactly. Because sometimes he'll get like a flat tire trying to go off one, and then
Right.
somebody bumps him. But when he goes off two, he's strong enough. And he got one play today, which I haven't seen him do, but I see like Luca and shit do all the time,
Mm-hmm.
which is he get all the way down under the basket and he stops
Yeah,
at
they
2 feet
stopped.
and
Yeah,
the guy jumps by him. I've never
I've
seen
never
him
seen him
like
do that either. I was
he
like,
doesn't do
oh,
that. And
okay.
I watched Tatum like all. I've pretty much watched almost every game he's ever played, and he's never done that. Like randomly, he just did that. So I'm like, wow, he's starting to get it with the 2 feet, staying on 2 feet, because he has more power when he jumps, so he can finish more baskets. But
Right.
anyway, that's my Celtics part. But you got anything to say about the Cavs? I was impressed with them. Like Merrill, kind of impressed me. Like I
Mhm.
don't know, like Craig Porter.
Yeah, he's good. I liked him last year.
He's pretty good. He was giving Pritchard a pretty good game. Like every time he was out there, even scored on like Jalen. I think one time, like he was doing good, and they got a good team. I didn't see Levert. Is he hurt?
Yeah, Levert. Well, yeah, Levert. Yeah, they were missing most of their wings. Okoro was hurt. Dean Wade was hurt, and Karras was also
Dean
hurt.
Wade will help
Yeah,
too.
they all missed with ankle injuries. The main takeaway I took away from tonight's game, specifically regarding the Cavaliers, was that Evan Mobley was able to take advantage of mismatches, which last year he wasn't able to do as much. I don't think. I mean, he was pretty good in some games, but I think this game they were able. Like he had a switch. I think on the Pritchard. He took like two dribbles and shot a little hook shot over just like things over that he was consistently doing over the course of the game. So I think his improvement on that end, especially with the way the Celtics like to switch 1 through 4, I think that I helped them in the playoff series. I did like the improvement I see from him tonight. Mitchell, he had a slow start in the first half, but he got going in the second half. He ended with 33. I think Mitchell will be fine. And another like if you guys were to pretty much meet in the series again. I think in a third quarter, I think he might have sat Mitchell a little too long. Atkinson. I mean, but like again,
Mitchell was the one dude that I hate. Like he's like I've already talked. I said this on this last pod, but he's the guy I hate. Like SGA also, where I feel like they're unguardable,
right.
or even like Derek White or like a Drew Holiday has trouble staying with the Donovan Mitchell because he's almost unguardable, especially if he's hitting his three.
Right.
But he wasn't that efficient tonight, but he was still
Hmm.
scary. Like they're definitely going to give us the best run out of everybody unless Paulo, because I still have like high hopes for
I
Orlando.
still like the Magic as
But
well.
because especially the way Franz has been playing, but we'll talk about that because I definitely want to talk about that.
Hmm.
But Cleveland, I still think that they're a trade away. Like I think that they could get another player, another wing, a Tatum, not a Tatum stopper because that's
Tatum
not
defender.
gonna, just a guy that just a guy. I mean, Dean Wade has played the Jays kind of good, but I don't know if he's that
He's
person. But I would probably
I,
get.
I'm not sure if he's enough. I mean, I think if he were him and somebody else, it would maybe be
He's
enough.
a
'Cause I think
physical defender, and he can stay with him, but he's not enough. Like he's not gonna like overwhelm either one of them.
yeah, I think
And
Mobley did pretty well tonight defensively. I mean, they did. I mean, there were some shots made on him, but I think him guarding on the perimeter, he did pretty well tonight. To be honest, so yeah,
he
they
was
are.
he was all right. But the thing about him is because I think they're 28th or ninth in 3-point defense. Like they're
Right.
not good at, and that's
They
part of
over
it because
rotate
they
a
have
lot.
two bigs, and they have two bigs, so they're not going to get out to the 3 points quickly. So that's why they can't run Jared Allen. You see, notice that Jared Allen didn't really have a great game, and Mobley did have a pretty good game. But the thing about it was, it's hard to play the Celtics have two bigs out there because you're literally running from one end of the court, like from one side of the baseline to the other, trying to contest shots. So, um, I don't know. Like that's the thing about them is that Jared Allen, they got to get both Mobley and which Kenny Atkinson has done a good job of
Mm-hmm.
this season of getting them both like involved. And I know they stagger them, so they stagger Garland and Mitchell with one of the bigs, and that works. But against the Celtics, you got to be able to have all your dudes hitting on all cylinders. That's their task is to try to get Jared Allen. Because in the future, it's going to be, well, if this isn't going to work, then we're going to have to make a move with one of our bigs. Because those are valuable pieces. You could probably get a good wing if you try to trade Jared Allen. But I don't know if there are because Jared Allen is good for them a lot of nights. Is really
Right.
good, but I'm just saying that that's why he would be valuable on the market because and you might could get a good ass player, and so I don't know, but that's like a longer term thing. But they're good. I got nervous because Celtics were up 20 something points and
And then they came back in the second half.
quickly, and I was talking shit obviously because I was talking shit on Twitter. So and then they're like, "Oh, you jinxed it." I'm like, "See, nah," but I'm not gonna, fuck it.
Things happen,
I'm not
man.
gonna. Yeah, if we would have lost, I'd have been like, "Fuck it," I would have been mad about something, but I wouldn't have took back what I said. But let's talk about something else. So the Sixers are probably the first thing that we need to talk about
Yes.
because it's like RIP Sixers. Like I'm not gonna say that they're dead yet, but it's getting close to feeling like that, especially the way Embiid has looked.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Maxi's not back yet. And so, because it takes chemistry and clicking and getting a lot of minutes together, and so they haven't done any of that,
Right.
and they're already 2 and
They're 2-11.
yeah. You talk about them.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the report leaking today about the team meeting that they had post the Miami game, it doesn't really seem to bode well for just having an overall good season. Just Maxi calling out your superstar player for being late to practices and just being late to things in general. I mean, like,
Yeah,
how does a thing like that even leak? To be honest, like, if we're doing that,
bad teammates
if we're already in this
because it's a team.
stage.
It's one of the players.
Right.
Has to be.
If we're already in this stage in November and the team is 2-11, you have guys who are going to be in and out the lineups because Embiid's already said he's not playing back to backs. Paul George is probably not going to play back to backs, and Paul George hasn't necessarily even played well. I think he's shooting below 40% from the field right now. So, and then just the team roster construction just isn't built to withstand even the injury to Maxey or Paul George or Embiid. I don't think the team can function without all three of those guys on the court, and it's going to be very hard to get all three of them on the court at the same time a lot this season. Just as long just with the
And
injury.
they're not even going to play back to back. The idea was that Embiid wasn't going to play back to backs,
Mm-hmm.
but they were still going to be good enough to play on them nights with Paul George and Maxi carrying the load.
Right.
And now it doesn't even look like they're going to be able to do that. So that's scary for them. And
Yeah, and the
like
role
I'm not
players. Oh,
even,
wow.
and I'm a Celtics fan, but I'm not. I'm to the point where I'm not even hating on the Sixers like I usually do because I feel like, damn, bro, like I feel bad. Like we never even got to see them like really play, and now
Right.
they're already down. And I want like to be honest, as a basketball fan, I want comp for the Celtics in the East. I don't want it to just be Cleveland. That's why I want the Knicks to even get more better because I want to see good games. I don't want to see like where I feel like it's going to be easy. So, but the Cavs aren't easy. So I already feel like that's one team that the Celtics
Mm-hmm.
can have issues with. But like you want more teams in the East because especially since everybody's talking shit about the East and saying how trash it is. So now I'm rooting for more teams in the East to get better, so I don't have to listen to people complain about the East all fucking day.
No, right.
But
I do agree. But yeah, but just with Philly, even the role. I mean, beside that, pretty much the only bright spot they've had so far is Jeremy McCain, who's been one of the best rookies so far this season.
and he's
But
super fun to watch.
yeah, he is
He's
super
clean.
fun.
He's clean. He's got like a Steph Curry like kind of mindset.
Yep.
Not obviously the Steph Curry, but
Nah,
he
no,
has
I
that
mean,
kind of like he watched Steph Curry his whole life. And now he's
yeah.
like trying to play like that. You can tell. and then he's fun to watch, and he's give them something at least for the fans to
Be happy
grasp
about.
onto. But you know how Philly is. I sent you the thing with Paul George, um, how Philly fans are ripping him on. It's like saying, "Get out of the podcast and go to the gym."
Yeah, it's
Shit.
a tough place to play, man. And if you're especially for not
And
meeting
we call that, you
expectations.
know, I mean, everybody knows that the Philly fans are. You can't come in with a podcast and get a max contract and then start the season like this. So, of
Right.
course, that's going to happen. Um, like he's lucky he's not getting batteries or anything thrown at him. But all right, let's talk about Luka because Luka
Mm-hmm.
wasn't playing in Dallas beat OKC. Mavs looked good when they were playing without Luka, and I want Luka to get back into shape. And people are starting to see what I've been saying for a long time, which is that Luka needs to start trying on defense harder and needs to get in better shape. And he's not taking it like he doesn't get like they don't hold him accountable. And I think the big picture reason is because they don't want him to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because he could just be like, I want to just trade me or something like that, and you don't want that. So like they don't hold him like super accountable like maybe they should about certain things, and so it's gotten to the point where he's just like looking at teammates after he lets people blow by him and stuff like that, and obviously that affects the team. But anyways, they played good without him, but over the long run, that's not what's gonna hold up. And obviously, you need Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic, and he's one of the best players in the league. And I talk shit, but at the end of the day, he's top five player, and he needs to be on his team. Luka's got to realize he's in year 7,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's not year 2 or year 3 anymore. And you gotta, if you really want to be a champion, or even if he wants to just be MVP, like whatever you want to be, you're gonna need to be in better shape because people are starting to realize and notice the difference, like in your effort on both ends.
Right.
And so, anyways, like the Mavs are going to be good still, but they have like a defensive problem on the
Mm-hmm.
like on the perimeter, and then they have a Luka has not been playing good problem. Well, he's been playing good for like average. I mean, for a good player, but he's not been playing good up to Luka Doncic
Like how
standards.
he was last
Like,
season, pretty much.
yeah, or season before that, or like because at least if you're going to be an absolute cone, you could be dropping like better numbers. But it's just like the efficiency. He's not getting to the foul line. I notice as much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he just runs out of gas at the end of the game. And that's what I noticed the most. Teams know to attack him when he gets tired. They wait
Right.
until he gets tired and they really start to go at him. And, the Kings, De'Aaron Fox is like
Yeah, he had 2 crazy
making people
games.
put some respect on his name because yeah, he had a couple crazy games. I watched the one where he had like 60 against the Wolves. That was fun, and
Yeah.
Ant played good that game too. But it was it was a battle, and was DeRozan out, and DeRozan was playing good before he got hurt. But they
Mm-hmm.
got DeRozan, they got Sabonis out, right? Isn't Sabonis out now
Yes, the
too?
bonus is out.
Yeah, so that's that's De'Aaron Fox put him on his back. Really, did they win or they lost the other night? Right,
Yeah, he lost to the Hawks
like by like a point.
by 1 point. I think Keon
Yeah,
Ellis had like 9 threes. He had a really good game, but yeah, they did end up losing. I think towards the end, DeAndre Hunter had a good game. Yeah, the Hawks.
yep. And Dyson Daniels stole it from De'Aaron Fox at the end
Yeah,
of the game. So that
yeah,
was the one bad moment of the week for De'Aaron Fox because he won Player of the Week.
right.
Um, but the Kings they're fun. Like they don't have any defense either. So,
Yeah,
but I mean they know how to score and they're gonna still be in like the 4th or 5th seed in the West probably. Uh, and then the other player of the week actually was Franz, and this is something that we wanted to talk about. So Franz and Paulo, like
hmm
how like the Orlando fans were saying, basically a lot of the chatter around Franz is now shifted towards like Paulo because now Franz is playing so good. Because
right.
it used to be that Franz wasn't playing as good and Paulo was playing good, and they're like, "What's up with Franz?" And they're just trying to figure out. Obviously, when you have a young team and you know, as fans, people want to be like instantly work, but it takes a long time to develop chemistry, and it's as they play like similar roles as each other, so you have to find a way to like
Coexist.
I do it coexists exactly, and basically pick like how Tatum and Brown do it is similar to how they're gonna have to do it, and which is like Jalen will take the first quarter, or it's always been that Jalen took the first quarter. This year it's been Tatum really, more because Jalen has been hurt and like not until recently. So Tatum has been trying to take the first quarter, but they basically pick their spots. What it would be like Jalen takes the first, and then Tatum takes the second and the third quarter, and then at the beginning of the fourth quarter, Jalen will basically get aggressive, and then at the end in crunch time, then Tatum gets more aggressive, and like they just kind of figured out their like wave of like how they go throughout a game to conserve each other's energy,
Right.
and that's how Franz and Paulo have to do it. And it's some nights it's still kind of clunky, but you got to figure it out. Like that's the key to that is that you have two-way players like that. Say they like have a night where not everything's super efficient. They can make it up for it on defense,
By
like
getting stops.
Franz by getting stops. Exactly. So that's what the difference is from having a player that's a superstar like that doesn't have the capability of doing that because they have to be efficient. They have to be great on offense. But a
Right.
two-way player like, say, a Franz, even though he's been great lately, even the games where he only has 15 or 20 points, he's still great on defense, and so he's very valuable, and that shows up on like the analytics and stuff like that.
Right.
But now that he's had a chance to spread his wings, and that Paulo's gone, and so hopefully when Paulo gets back, they can coexist better, and Franz will have that much more confidence.
Hmm.
Because I know Paulo's already got confidence. I think it's more of a Franz thing that he has to like um maybe have to get more confidence to like
Yeah. Just to get going. I mean, he's more
especially
so.
because his shot wasn't falling last year as good.
Yeah.
So now that it's falling a little better, it helps too.
Yeah.
But they're going to be a threat. So go ahead.
What I've noticed about Franz mostly, his improvement to me, that I think like that's really like put him into just him being able to score as efficiently as he is now. It's just he's added a mid range game which he didn't really have last year. He was very reluctant to shoot mid range. He was usually just all the way to the rim or 3 pointers, and I think that's kind of a reason why his three fell off because he was so reliant on it. And now that he's seeing actually shots go in the mid range before he starts taking the threes, like and stuff like that.
Right.
I think that is really helping him just become more efficient, and also just him. I think he's also a rhythm player. I was talking about that with a few people earlier. That I think Franz is pretty much a rhythm player, and the more touches he gets, the better that he is going to become. So I think what they're going to have to develop is one that's going to have to become a
And
very
a lot of great players are like that.
yeah.
I mean,
I
it's
agree.
hard for like a star player to get put in a role player role.
All right.
So if he's a star player, like he looks like he is now, I think he's gonna make the All Star team legit. I
Mm-hmm.
think Franz makes the All Star team this year. I'm calling it. And so if he's gonna be that type of player, then
No, I was not, and I also think that just one of them is probably gonna have to learn how to play off ball, more so. I think Paolo might be a little bit more equipped to do that, in my opinion. Because and then also one that's gonna have to become a consistent pull up 3 point shooting threat because they don't really have many of those on the roster, in my
right.
opinion. So yeah, I think those are the two things that they're gonna have to fix. But it is very similar to the Tatum and Brown thing, where people didn't think that could work just based off their play styles and things like that. But I just think that Franz and Paolo could work because they're both pretty good passers for their size. They're both improving 3 point
They're
shooters.
great passers for their size. In my opinion, they are better than Tatum and Brown were at their stage in their career
Right,
at passing.
I agree.
Maybe not at scoring. Honestly, Tatum's probably better, and even Jalen's probably better than Franz was. Well, I don't know, man. It's pretty close, but uh, Tatum is definitely better at scoring, but he had to take a while to where he's the playmaker he is now.
Hmm.
He's taken big leaps on that end of his game. So I think that Paulo already has that, and Franz already has that. They can just even incrementally better at that, and then they'll be both elite playmakers for their positions. So that's super encouraging. Now, it's the shots. They have to make shots from the outside, like you said. That's what it's going to come down to, especially since Anthony Black and all these young point guards, like Suggs is getting better, has like a, he's got a pretty good shot now. It's one of their better shooters on the team, but he's
Hmm.
not like a lights out shooter. And KCP, won't be around for long. So like even if he's this year, he's only been all right some games. And Anthony Black's not a shooter,
No,
and
not yet. No.
so it's gonna have to be Franz and or Paulo shooting, catch and shoots and stuff like that too. Like you said, playing off ball, that is something that they need to add because maybe that's one of their issues is that they both need the ball. And
Right.
then we've seen that over the NBA, like how Giannis and Dame are, where they both need the ball and they're not effective off the ball. And you see that a lot. Kyrie and Luka are figuring that out. Like the ideal way to build around a Franz and Apollo is how the Celtics have with shooters all around. They right now they have all defensive players, which is good, and that's why they have elite defense. But you if you would like to get guys that can play defense and shoot, Suggs is probably a keeper on that end.
Hmm.
I think that Anthony Black is a really good player, but why don't you talk about?
Oh yeah, Anthony Black. He had a very good game versus the Suns. I think that was a day or two ago. But yeah, he had like 20 points, 9 assists, like 4 rebounds. He's always very impactful on the defensive end. But he's slowly becoming one of the best POA defenders in the league. And just him,
Yeah,
even in
he
switches.
causes havoc.
Yeah, even him in switches, I do like him because he can rebound. He's 6'7". He's a pretty big body. He's pretty athletic. He boxes out. I mean, and he's always in the passing lanes and things like that. I do like Anthony Black. It's just for him because I think if Franz, Paulo, and Black are all able to work, that they have just a very versatile three ball handlers that they can go to. Even if you throw Suggs in it as well, I just think they have
Yeah,
just those three together is going to be very good if Black is able to develop as an outside shooter in my opinion, because just the ball handling, the size, and the defense between the three is just, I think it's just be very hard to deal with. So the primary thing for Black is just because I think he's already a pretty good off ball player. He has good feel when like just cutting off, just playing off other players, especially like as a cutter
yeah,
and stuff like that. And he's good with the ball in his hands too. But he has to develop
yeah.
catch and shoot guy. Which I mean, last year in my opinion, especially in the corners, he was a bit better than I expected. And now he's shooting more above the break threes. I'm not sure on the percentages, but the fact that he's taking them with confidence, in my opinion, is an encouraging sign. So we'll see how
Yeah.
it develops. But yeah, I do like him a lot for them on the team because he does fit the identity. And like I said, he's another.
They need Wendell Carter healthy.
Yeah, Wendell. Yeah, but the problem with Wendell is that
He's always hurt.
he's always hurt. Always is.
He's
Always
always hurt.
hurt.
I know, but they need him healthy because he's a pretty important and underrated part of their team because he can shoot pretty good and he can switch and stuff. Even though I have to shout out Goga.
Hmm. Yeah, Goga's really
Um,
good.
I don't even know how do you say his last name?
Goga Pataze.
Bataze. He's pretty good. Like his defense is legit, and his offense is kind of improving. And he's a good player. I mean, he's not like a negative on the court, and he's definitely going to meet you at the rim.
Yep.
So that's one of the reasons why their defense is elite because of him. So yeah, the Magic. I just can't wait for them to get Paulo back so we can see
Yeah, I
him.
would love to see how they look.
So Trae Young. Well, let's see. The Hawks have had Dyson Daniels take a leap.
Hmm.
Probably now he's what? Because he's only 21 years old, right?
Dyson, yeah, he's 21.
And so for him to take a leap at that age, like he's looking like he's gonna be probably the guard of the future there. And so I don't know. I say that Trey fits with them, but I don't know how they're trying to go if they're trying to build around Trey still, or if they were trying to trade him and build around Dyson Daniels and Jalen Johnson and
Hmm.
like the guys that they got, Shea. Because when they played that game where they beat the Celtics without Trae Young, and they showed me that like because that turned into a defensive team, a athletic team that could cause havoc, and obviously Dyson played out of his like one of his best games offensively, and so that was important. But also showed me that he could be like that. So maybe he could be a lead guard too, and
Hmm.
which would make him like an elite player one day if he could be one of the best defenders in the NBA, like a crazy guard version of like Kawhi Leonard, like how good he is on defense. Like he doesn't even have to be an elite offensive player if he's just like a Drew Holiday, Derek White level offensive player. And so if he could be like that, like a Spurs Derek White on offense, or early Derek White on offense, that may be enough for me to say that they should look into trading Trey.
Hmm. Yeah, well, just my main thing with Trey is just his overall just regression as a scorer, and I think that kind of plays into the Achilles injuries that he's had over the past 2 seasons. Because even last year he had some problems with his Achilles, and then he had the wristing and stuff like that. So I just think that the fact that he's a pretty bad, he's a
He's
bad
small.
finisher. He's a bad finisher. He really doesn't shoot his floaters like he used to, like in the 21 season. I think that was a really big part of their run was just his floater game and the pick and roll. He doesn't really shoot those anymore. He doesn't really have a good
Yeah, those used to be automatic for him.
yeah, he doesn't really have a good in between game, and his 3 point shot. And I think the only value that he really brings to our offense is just pick and roll value, his
Yeah.
playmaking ability, and his 3-point shot, which is
He's a
also
great passer. He had 19
yeah.
assists the game
And
that he couldn't make a basket last
right.
night.
And I think
So
just with the Hawks, especially when you have guys like Jalen Johnson, like Dyson Daniels, like Ricochet, like bigger, taller wings who can ball handle and play make as well. Like the skill set is kind of redundant, and he's also kind of holding the back defensively in some ways, in my opinion. Where you
he's 100% holding them back defensively
if you were to
because
just
they were giving us the business without Trae. Because they were stealing the ball from us, deflecting. Obviously, most of it was Dyson Daniels, but he leads them to be better defensively. When he's the point of attack, he's the
hmm
point guard, and there's no other like super weakness player like Trae Young on the court.
hmm
That makes a big difference.
right,
Obviously they're not as good offensively without Trae. Obviously they're not probably going to trade Trae this season, but maybe they should wait and see if because you said it, his injuries and stuff. It's two ways of looking at that. One is that he could get healthy, like in next season, be
hmm
like peak Trae Young and around, and then say Dyson Daniels takes a leap, Ricochet takes a leap, and now they got a pretty good squad. Jalen Johnson's already looking like a good bet,
possibly a second
kind of a
option,
yeah,
possibly.
like a good second option or like a top start, like a top level starter
hmm
in the league. Um, and maybe potential to be all star one day. So when you look at all that and you say if Trae could be like 21 Trae, again, then maybe we got something and maybe we want to keep that together. And that's kind of how I lean now. But Trae has looked bad. He's not good in the ISO. He
Right.
can't score on like good wings, and that's who's gonna get put on him. Um, anybody, a lot of players are giving him trouble in the ISO. So, like you said, he has
Yeah, he
value in
couldn't
the pick and
even
roll,
he couldn't even get past Doug McDermott in the Kings game. Like,
and that's crazy because he used to get by everybody.
right.
That was one of his main things. Like coming out of Oklahoma, if you watch him, like he get by anybody. That's one of his things that he could do. Is if you get in the lane, obviously with the pick and roll, but also even if his shot wasn't falling, he would still be able to get in the paint and
hmm
find some. If he can't do that and crack the defense like on an elite basis, and his offense, it's like Isaiah Thomas from the Celtics, or like something like that, where if you're not giving me an elite offensive player, your defense is so bad that you're going to be
Essentially a
unplayable and
negative.
essentially a negative. And Trae Young is not there yet, but he's teetering on that. And if it gets any worse, then he will be like kind of a negative. So it's two ways to look
hmm
at it because you don't want to trade him
He has a
and then
revival
not get the
season.
best return because his return's not going to be the best right now because he's hurt and stuff. So people are looking at the same thing that we are and saying, "Oh, damn, bro, we don't want to pay top dollar when this guy might not be healthy for us. He's a
Right.
small guard, and if he can't stay healthy, small guards have a bad history of like falling off quickly. So I don't know, but obviously they're not going to do anything this year. But I was going to bring up trades and stuff, but I want to move on because we have better stuff to talk about.
Right.
But one day, like if this continues where Trae is looking bad all season, I will have a whole segment on Trae, like who might want to get Trae on their team or who they might get for Trae. Because I just like to talk trade talk anyway. And that's how we first started fucking with each other on the internet because
Oh yeah, facts.
me
You
and you
talking
was
about Jalen Brown?
throwing trades back and forth. Yeah, that's funny. But anyways, so the Heat they look kind of better lately, right? Tyler Hero's looking pretty good. We talked about that last
hmm
pod, but you got some thoughts on the Heat,
Yeah,
real
Jimmy had
quick?
the 30-point game versus Philly. He had 30 and 10 in that game. That was essentially his best game of the season. So that was an
It
encouraging sign for
was.
Miami. So I do, and I think Bam will eventually get on track. They're starting to play where I like some of the rookie guys that they brought in, like Pele Larson. He's been giving them some pretty decent minutes. Who Terry hasn't really played well so far, but I expect him as the season goes along to be better.
He should.
I just think the Heat, they're still a stingy, feisty team in the East, and I mean, I was talking to some Heat fans the other day. They were pretty much like that they should run more stuff through Jovic, and I do agree, just due to his driving ability and his catch and shoot ability. Like he's actually a pretty good, just all around offensive player. That if the Heat were
Yeah, he's
like,
tall,
yeah, if the
so he
Heat,
can get a shot off really on anybody. That's what's good about Jovic because he's tall enough
yeah, but if the Heat were to more
and he's
were,
skilled.
were to run more like 4-5 pick and rolls, or even vice versa, 5-4 pick and rolls with him and Bam, like I think they'll be able to just open up their offense even more because usually Jovic is usually he has the guys that are like he'll have the Trae Youngs on him. He'll have the D Foxes. He'll have the guys
Yeah, the bad players. Yeah,
that the defense doesn't really want like to guard seriously, and Jovic can
yeah,
attack those mismatches just very very well.
right.
So if the Heat do start to use him more, I think their offense will open up a little bit more.
And Bam has looked better too, or
Yeah,
he's
Bam
had
has
a
looked.
couple good games.
Yeah, he's looked better. So I just like how the Heat have looked in my opinion. Since well, Jimmy's only been back one game, but that last game he was pretty good. So I do
Yeah, I
like.
knew Jimmy was good because I had Jimmy fans in my mentions. As soon as he had a good game, I was like, they're all like, say something about Jimmy now. I'm like, bro, he had one good game all season. Now you want to talk. But the Warriors, they can't beat the Clippers for some reason. What's their issue with the Clippers?
It's a Ty Lue coach team with a good defense.
Yeah,
Ty Lue
it's
has
all Ty Lue
yeah Ty Lue has a
and
history.
Jeff Van Gundy.
Yeah, Ty Lue has a history with us, so he just knows how to play us. And honestly, I think we lost to the Clippers last game because we over rotated too much on Harden. I think we committed too much defensive attention to Harden, and he hasn't really shot well that much this season, in my opinion. So I think that we were just pretty much dry helping for no reason. Like because I feel like the Harden's advantage creation, while it is still great, it's not what it was, in the amount of defensive
Right.
attention that we were drawing that we were giving him wasn't warranted in my opinion, and so we were just giving up wide open threes to guys like Norman Powell, Nicholas Batum, Derrick Jones Jr., and they were knocking them down.
And Norman Powell's been going. I have to shout him out because I don't think I even really talked about him yet
Mhm.
this year, but he's been going off. And this is the best Norman Powell. I never thought he would get to this level, so I have to
Yeah,
shout
he's
him out.
been.
Hopefully, he keeps it through the whole season. But so far this year, he's in the West. He's a borderline All Star like level. I'm not saying that he's going to make it because I don't think he will,
I see what you mean. Yeah,
but he's been one of the best players in the West so far. So
yeah. I
I got to
think.
shout him out. But go ahead about the Warriors because I'm more interested in the Warriors.
Mhm.
I'm more interested in like Kaminga got benched.
Yeah, I was gonna get into that because I was about to say because I feel like I was saying with just the James Harden thing because I feel like if we would have left Wiggins on him just in one-on-one situations we'd have been fine because we know I've seen Wiggins hold up against like his like Wiggins is just back to his form specifically defensively. I'm not
He's
sure.
looked. Yeah.
Offensively, he's lost a little bounce, a little juice on that, and just a little. It's a tad. It's noticeable to
But I
me.
saw him getting last game I watched him. I saw him getting a bunch of offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
And
He was
and I
getting
was
that.
like, okay, like this looks like the old Wiggins, and those are the things that you need from him too. Aside from just the scoring and the on ball defense, he brought that too,
Hmm.
the extra level of rebounding and just athleticism, and he looks a little bit like
Yeah, he does look a
that
little
player. It's taken
more
him a while to
rejuvenated.
get back there, so it's kind of like where you don't want to fully put your heart into thinking that he's going to be this guy because you
Hmm.
don't know if he's going to fall off at any moment. But so far, you got to feel good about Wiggins. But why did Kaminga get
Yeah,
benched?
yeah, that's what I was gonna get. I mean, because I think he got
Because
benched.
he usually closes, right?
Yeah, he usually does close. In the first half, I think his confidence was wavering a little bit with the missed free throws. I think he was like 0 for 3 or 0 for 4 from the free throw line to start the game. I think it's kind of like I think Steve maybe just didn't want to close with him being a bad free throw shooter at the end. But I think that, in my opinion, that's unacceptable just based off of the fact that
You need
we
Kaminga.
needed secondary scoring in the last 6 minutes of that game. I saw with 3 minutes left, I saw Draymond literally run around in a circle searching for Steph because we didn't have
Have anybody.
another outlet. So it's like, and Kaminga, even though Kaminga didn't have the best of the first 3 quarters, he was still affecting the game just by creating advantages simply, especially in transition with his athleticism. He was getting downhill. He was just creating stuff at the basket, getting people open looks in transition. So I just feel like him not closing the last 6 minutes was borderline like malpractice because he's the only guy that can create advantages outside of Steph.
So
So
who was in his spot?
Lindsey Waters.
Like that really is malpractice. What the fuck, Kaminga? Because he's probably the number two option on the team.
Right.
Why would you play Waters knowing that you're gonna need this Kaminga like the whole season, every single night to be aggressive, number two kind of
Hmm.
scorer on the team. And this is my biggest worry about the Warriors is that the we talked about this when we did the rankings for the top 25 players, and I said that the gap between, or one of the things that you have to give Curry is the gap between him and the second best like scorer on the team is different than almost anybody besides like Jokic. Like it's as far as like elite players and their second best player is like that much of a gap. And Kaminga's the closest thing probably right to the second best player on at least scoring wise.
Offensively, right?
On so I agree with you that I don't think that like it's different from like the other situation that I want to talk about with the Lamelo and Charles Lee
Mm-hmm.
thing because like with the Lamelo and Charles Lee, I just saw the press conference with Charles Lee and he was saying that he just thought that Trey Mann was playing great and
He
that he
was.
was giving him something that Lamelo was not giving him. Like he didn't trash Lamelo. He didn't say because he said Lamelo was playing good in the beginning of the game and everything. But I just thought that the hot hand was Trey, and that he was giving us stuff on both ends of the court. That basically he took a little tiny shot at Lamelo, saying like he was giving us stuff on both ends of the court. And so I felt like that it was sometimes you have to go with the right hand, and that was the right hand. That's what he said, and I respect that. And you know how I feel about Charles Lee, and I
Mm-hmm.
picked him to win Coach of the Year because I think that he's such a good coach. But now I don't think he's going to win it. But like I do believe in him as a coach. And I saw some Hornets fans trying to be negative about Charles Lee. I'm like, you guys can send him back to the Celtics if you don't want Charles Lee because he's a good ass coach and he's doing the right thing. This will be good for Lamelo in
In
the
the
long
long
run
run, right? I
because he's
agree
going to think
completely.
about next time. Next time he's going to say, "Damn, Charles Lee's not playing, man. I need to start doing this little shit." Because I don't want to get embarrassed again like that. And look how Tatum's playing after he got benched in the Olympics. And not to say that that's the same thing, but
It can
because
change your
obviously Tatum,
mentality.
yeah, because now he just puts a little extra chip on your shoulder. And these guys are elite athletes, and they're already so like confident in themselves. They don't have a chip on their shoulder, especially Lamelo. He don't have really a chip on his shoulder. He's just like, yeah, I'm just the shit. Like, and he's got a coach that's looking at him like, no, you're not good enough, bro. You need to get way better. Like, you're not elite yet. You're like, even though we love LaMelo and say that he's an elite player, but as a coach, you want a coach to push that guy to the absolute limit. And so
Right.
I think that LaMelo is probably a difficult player to get through to. But I think Charles Lee's trying to do a good job at it. And hopefully Melo doesn't take this the wrong way and be like, I want to get out of here or something. But if he doesn't, and he puts this into perspective and says that there's a reason why, and this is going to be good for the team, because now Charles Lee's going to get respect from the rest of the guys on the roster. Because they're looking like, dude, if he's going to sit LaMelo,
He gonna
then
sit me
I'm
too.
going to, yeah, and also I'm just going to listen to this dude with a little bit more respect because I'm like, he's got some fucking balls to sit the best player on the team.
All right. I agree.
That takes some heart to do that, and that takes some just like confidence in yourself as a coach to sit the franchise player and to close the game. And so now the rest of the players, if you were playing on that team, you would respect the coaches just a little bit more. Not even on some scared shit. Just he's got the moxie to do that. So now I respect him just a little bit more, and now that will go a long way
Mm-hmm.
too. So hopefully Lamelo takes that the right way. But I think that's a little different than the Kuminga thing, where I think Kuminga, I don't agree with that because I think that the Warriors have a championship type of team or at least a Western Conference Finals type of team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they need Kuminga to be confident and not like they're in two different stages of their careers, LaMelo and Kuminga, even though they're similar ages, but where their teams are different. Steve Kerr would have done this a long time ago to Melo.
Oh yeah, surely. Yeah.
You know, like he would have. It's a couple years ago. This would have happened to Lamelo on the Warriors, because he would have been like, "Bro, you're not doing all the shit that I need you to do." I think it's good. That's good that Charles Lee's a real coach, and he told him, "Sit your ass down. You're not doing it." Trey Mann, he's cold too. I love Trey Mann. He's got a lot of confidence too. I like his game, and he's like the first time I saw him, like this guy can shoot. He's a scorer. But he's got some dog in him too. He plays hard on defense.
I agree. I agree with that
So
completely. To be
we're gonna
honest.
do our top 20 under 25 ball up top rankings because we like to do lists on ball up top
All right.
and because
Yeah.
we're gonna keep track. This is like for us so we can keep track. So when like towards the end of the season, we could do a new list and see how that compares to how we did see how good we are at this. Anyways, and so it gives us something to banter about too. But before that, we got to talk about the Booker game where he was going off, and then Ant-Man closed it.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good game. That was one of those games where I was like, just the NBA is great, man. I don't know why people hate on the NBA all the time. And like the game tonight with the Cavs and Celtics was great. Like every night there's a good ass game. It's always entertaining. There's nothing more entertaining than like 3 or 4 games on my league pass, or even when on national TV games have been mostly good. I think the basketball has been good this year, and the complaining is bullshit from anybody. And also the streaming has a lot to do with, if nobody realizes this when they keep on bringing up how the viewers are not watching the NBA as
Yeah,
much.
people just aren't watching on the NBA
I don't
app.
think people understand that how much streaming is going on. But anyways, what about that Suns Wolves game?
Yeah, Booker had a crazy first half as just a shot maker, and he was just doing whatever he wanted in the first half of the game. I think he had like 27, 28 going into halftime. They kind of slowed him down the second half because they started to send double teams at him and things like that. But yeah, man, Booker had a hell of a performance. In that Sunday game versus the Wolves, and he didn't have too good of a first half, but he came back in the second half. He had a pretty good game, and Randall was pretty much the saving grace for them the entire game. He was the most consistent player of that game. I just think the Randall addition for the T Wolves has been really good. Just when Ant's not going, he doesn't have to just carry the offensive load all the time. Not saying that he had to do that with Cat, but I just think just him just Randall just being another ball handler that they have is just helping out just so much because he could just kind of just sit back and watch sometimes.
It's just different. Just a different thing that I think that everybody's it's going to take a while for people to get used to, because I
Hmm.
think some Wolves
Aesthetically.
fans, yeah, aesthetically, and I think some Wolves fans feel like they lost the trade,
Hmm.
because I think that the win was when they got Dante,
Hmm.
and that they're going to
He had a
keep
good game
Nas
on
Reed
Sunday too.
now. They're going to keep Nas Reed now because they have to realize that if they would have kept Cat, then they would have lost Nas Reed and they would have never got Dante. So then they would have to be relying on Rob Dillingham. So there's a whole domino effect with that whole trade. So it's not just Cat. So I always tell that to my the Wolves fans. Like I'm like, um, because I think that the Randall, it was like a good GM move. I'm not saying that they won the trade, but because I think Cat overall is the most talented player in the trade. So you have to say usually that the most talented player in the trade is the win. I would say for the Knicks, and he's been playing really good for the Knicks, even though
Yeah, he's
that
played
they've
very
been.
well offensively.
Yeah, his is probably the best Cat that we've seen offensively. He has his own flaws or whatever, but Gobert helped hide a lot of that with the Wolves, so I can see why Wolves fans are like, well, he was a good fit with us. But I say all that to say that it's just aesthetically a little different.
Hmm.
But Randall is a very good player, and he's a better playmaker. And like you said, he can do more for the offense. Um, the problem with him is that sometimes he's just not like efficient shooting wise, especially from three. And if he gets left, he will shoot it. So he could shoot you out of game sometimes. So I can see how that people get like bothered by that. But
Yeah, and the Timberwolves have had a bunch of turnover problems. Really, that's been the biggest gripe that I've seen with the team. Is just the amount of
turnovers.
turnover they have. They have
And
to
that's
they have to
chemistry
start
too. It takes a while
right.
probably to get used to playing a different way. Randall and Cat are completely different players. And so it's just one of those things where they're learning how to play with each other. And then
Hmm.
Dante is getting a little bit better. And probably like by
Game by game.
January, he's going to be playing like himself. And I still think that the Wolves are going to be a good team in the West. And they're fun to watch. I watch them almost every game. I probably caught almost of the Wolves. And the Suns, Booker looked great. And then he
Yeah,
ran out of gas
44.
because he was pretty much the only one doing anything. But he was killing. And Booker, that was like the first Booker game that I said, yeah, this is Devin Booker. This is why I put him above Donovan Mitchell in my rankings, because I was starting to regret that. And then Booker had that game, but he ran out of gas at the end because and Ant Man picked it up, and but it was fun. And didn't it go to overtime? I think.
No, 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 no. Randall hit a step back game winner.
Oh yeah, that was what it was. It was Randall the game winner that he traveled on, and everybody was bitching about Tatum traveling on
Hey,
his game winner.
they're not calling those.
No, and that's why I said that was dope. That Julius Randle came out and said, "Well, you should have called it. It's too late now."
Yep.
And then I was like, yeah, that's my whole mood about the Jason Tatum one too, because everybody wanted to talk about the Tatum one, and then Giannis stepped out like,
Yeah, he
for the
stepped out
game
for the
winner.
Rockets game. Yep.
Well, and they got a block, and I watched that game too. Giannis blocked. I think it was Sengun, but
Sengun,
he
yeah.
blocked. Yeah, Sengun, and he stepped out of bounds, and then they got a game winner, and nobody talked about that either. At least not as much as the Tatum one. So I'm just like, bro, I honestly laugh because it's just like you can't just enjoy one game winner. Y'all gotta fucking try to violate us.
Yeah,
But
we got
it's
to tear
funny.
down everything. It's crazy.
And now, but yeah, but Randall, that was a big shot, and I was going crazy. I was like, oh shit, because I like fuck with Randall just because like I think people hate on him. I think he's better than people
Give him
say he
credit
is.
for. Yeah, I agree.
So I think that like he's not as good as Cat. I'm saying that right now, but he's a good player, and he does bring different things to the Wolves that I think lacked.
Hmm.
Like you said, as far as creation, he can get into the lane, make
And
plays, and he does
honestly,
that a lot.
honestly, defensively, he's been like a top 5 defender on the Wolves so far this season. I mean, he's been honestly the Wolves drop off defensively hasn't been on him at all. It's really been everyone else. J Max kind of. I mean, I won't say he's regressed, but he hasn't been that good so far.
Yeah.
I mean, the last 4 or 5 games he's picked it up defensively, but
Randall's playing hard on defense this year.
yeah,
Like he's
yeah,
playing noticeably harder than he usually does.
and that was, and I feel like that was good. That was the main thing that people didn't like about the trades, that they felt like the defense would get worse, but the defense hasn't gotten worse because of him.
But Cat wasn't a good defender anyway,
I
so
will. I will say in the playoffs, Cat did. I mean, he guarded KD for some stretches. He did pretty well. I mean, he in the Denver series, he did his thing versus Jokic, and then in the Maverick series, that's the Maverick series is where he really kind of got exposed, just because I just feel like the Rudy and
yeah. Certain
Bam Adebayo were
matchups,
too
like
slow.
he doesn't.
Yeah,
When he's at the 4, though, obviously he's better as a defender because he's not good at the 5
right.
as a defender. We know that. I think that Randall is not a good defender, but he's been a lot better this year.
Hmm.
Probably because it's his contract year, so he knows he's out there playing his heart out, trying to get his last big payday. But it's also has something to do with he's a dog and he's around more dogs like Ant-Man who are probably getting him to play harder defense too. And even Gobert
Hmm.
is a great defender. So, when you're around great defenders, then you're not going to be like the only dude that doesn't play defense because you don't want to be that guy.
All right.
And then the whole rest of the team is looking at you like, really, you're just out here just to
Because
lose.
at least in New York, he had an excuse. The best player on the team doesn't. I won't say an excuse,
Yeah.
but the best player
No,
on the
he had
Knicks
to
doesn't play
carry more of
defense.
he didn't have an Ant-Man
Right.
to do a lot. And even when he had Brunson, Brunson's not Ant-Man as
Right.
much
He's
as I
not a good
like
defender.
Brunson. Yeah, exactly. So, the last thing I want to talk about before because this is a perfect segue into the top 20s under 25.
Hmm.
So this is under 25, meaning they have to be 24 or under. I had to make that clear because there's a lot of 25-year-olds that are good, like are great, like Luca and um, Trae Young and some like other players that are 25, but I didn't want them in the list. So it's 24 under, but we can talk about because both our number one is Wemby.
Clear. Yeah. No question.
And he just had 50 the other night. Um, why don't you talk about our number one pick for? Because let's do ours a little different, but we'll just go back and forth. You do your one, I do my one, and we'll see how different ours is.
Yeah, Wemby, man. They played the Wizards. He gave his fellow Frenchman, Alex Sarr, the business game. Pretty much a
That was personal.
welcome to the NBA moment. He gave him 50. I think he had like eight or
He
nine
knew that
threes.
they were all watching in
Yep,
Paris and
yep.
all that.
He was taking them off the dribble. He was pretty much doing whatever he wanted. He was getting to where he wanted. He was
Yeah.
just anything he wanted. Just threes off the dribble threes, getting to the rim, post hooks, post shots, just all kind of post fadeaways from the mid range. Just all sorts of arrays of things that he was just. It's pretty much the best game he's ever played, at least from a scoring perspective. And defensively, he's very impactful. And like I said, I've always loved his passing, his rebounding. I just think that guy, when he's especially because even Joakim Noah was talking about it on JJ's pod, well, his former pod today, that like when he's not even in his grown man body yet. And that's why he doesn't. And that's why I don't think he goes around the rim right now as much as he should, as much as we like him to. Just bang. Just like I think people want him to go down there and bang pretty much, which I do understand. But it's like I
Yeah,
don't.
I do
He doesn't have the
more.
frame. He doesn't have the frame right now.
Yeah,
I feel like when he
he'll
does
be
get,
better at it
yeah,
when he gets
when he gets
more weight, stronger, gets in the weight room.
Yeah, when he hits his prime and the game starts to go inside out for him, it's gonna be so hard to stop. And just he's already anchored defensively. Like I said, I already think he's one of the best passers in the league. So if you have a combination of that skill set at 7'4" or 7'5", I mean, the sky's the limit. So that's
Yeah,
why.
and that was one of those games that, even though it was against the Wizards, so I throw a little Wizards tax on there because they're terrible.
Right.
Even though I love watching them play, and I love the Wiz kids, and I love Koulibaly, and I even like to watch Sarr. He's an elite defender sometimes, like not all the time because he doesn't
He
really know
doesn't get
what he's
pushed
doing out there
around.
all the time.
Right, right. I agree.
But he has certain aspects about his defense that are elite already, and so they're fun to watch. But Wemby looked great that game, but I think that was a game that he took personal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I meant when I said that he's more of a Giannis than a KD to me, even though he shot well that game. And he's obviously a way better shooter than Giannis will ever be. I see that, like, you see how he took it personal against Sarr? Like, that's a Giannis thing, like, to
Right.
do that, like, and to come out and be dominant. And that's what I want to see more out of him is to be that like guy that is like, you know what, y'all can't fuck with me. Like I'm Wemby and I'm the best player. Like because one day he's going to be the best player in the world or one of them, and that's that's the determination that you want to see out of him to be like that to dominate like a personal matchup. That's a good sign. That's the things that I like about Wemby that I feel like he has that can make him the best player in the world. Not just his physical traits, but he also
His motor.
seems to yeah, he seems to have a serious mentality and he's a fierce competitor and he has a high motor. Yeah, he's not playing around. He's out there to win and to be the best. And I respect that about Wemby, and I think that he will be there one day. So that's why he's my number one. And that was good to see him play like that, even though it was against the Wizards. He was hitting shots. But I would like to see more of that. I think that has something to do with his frame. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't like to get down there, like you said. He will get stronger and stuff. But he's also so tall that even when his frame fills out, like he can't, because a lot of guys, and even Tatum has this problem sometimes because he's so tall and he's only 6'9", 6'10", but he goes against guards and stuff and he tries to get his shoulder down and then they just like flop or whatever.
Yeah,
Like George
Garland did that a
Niang
few
tonight
times.
when,
Garland did that
yeah,
a
and
few
George
times.
Niang, he barely puts his shoulder on them and they go flying and so you have to be careful and sometimes he has to like lean so far down to get the shoulder down and then you're
Mm-hmm.
all off balance and then you miss the shot and you don't want to get like that. And Wemby, he's not going to be able to do that against like smaller players, like put his shoulder on them because he's so tall.
All right.
So he's going to need to like do little twitch moves to get his little spot, like kind of like a Kevin Garnett or something, or a KD, obviously. But yeah, I want him to start catching the ball. And I know this is not as easy as it sounds. And I've said this many times, but I want him to start catching the ball closer. Not all the time. You can still do your thing out there and shoot your threes and stuff, but just a couple more catches in the high post and stuff where he's only one or two dribbles from the rim. Because I feel like he's going to get to the point where he can make those moves and he'll be strong enough to finish and just dunk on people. Um, and like, if he catches it at the foul line and he has enough space to work where they can't double him and stuff, he's gonna take one dribble and dunk it on you.
All right.
Like, and when that starts happening on like a 3 or 4 time a game basis, and that's when he's gonna be the best player in the world because they're gonna have to start fouling on the doubles, and they already have to double him, but it'll be even more. And he's a great passer, so and it will help when they have a better team around him because he doesn't have a lot of spacing and shit,
Right.
and so he doesn't have a lot to work with. And even though they played good tonight without him, but most of the time they don't play great around him. So that will bring more out of him when he has a great players. I like how Stephon Castles look, but he has to get better as a shooter. He's looked good in everything else. He just has to get better as a shooter, but I think he will. But let's talk about the rest of our top 20 under 25. Your number two. Who's your number two?
Oh, number two, I do have Anthony Edwards. You know, that's my guy. I think. I just think, but mainly just because I think he's one of the better on and off ball players in the league. Also, while being a positive defender, and
Yeah.
he's also becoming an improving playmaker. So he's also becoming one of the best scorers in the league. So if you have the combo of those three things put together in a player especially at the ripe young age of 23. I just think that a guy like that is going to do nothing but grow from because the main thing that's pretty much holding him back is the playmaking, which he has shown major strides in this season specifically. So I just think if he continues to improve in
Yeah.
that aspect and just being one
And
of the best.
a lot of people would like listen to that because I have to explain this because we didn't explain this yet.
Mhm.
But this is more like a drafting for the future top 20. It's not because technically Ant-Man is the best player on this list. And so he's a lot better than Wemby at this point in his career. So this is more of a projecting out like 5 years or the next 5 years or whatever, right? Like that's how I'm doing it, anyways. Or like that's how my top 20 is. I'm basically drafting what I think is going to have the best career or the best next like 5 to 10 years. And so that's why Wemby's number one over Ant-Man, even though Ant-Man is a lot better than him
Mhm.
currently. So I'm glad I explained that. So carry on.
But my thing with Ant, I just think I think he's one of the best shooters and best drivers in the league. So like when you have that
Yeah.
combination of skills, especially,
Even though he needs to start driving more.
yeah, he does need to start driving more. But I do think the T Wolves do need him to shoot that volume of threes.
No,
So
he does, and especially because of Randall,
right.
and he's playing around Randall. So he's no, I'm not hating on what he's doing. I was just saying that he needs to start driving more because, like, you've seen the poster he did the other game. I
Hmm.
need a couple more posters. He hasn't been like doing as much attacking, and he's probably like we talked about it
Yeah, he had a
in
comment that
past
one of the coaches
pods.
said that before the Kings game that he was playing soft, so he went down there and did that. So you are right in that
Exactly.
sense.
And I was saying that he's trying to keep because he ran out of gas in the playoffs
Hmm.
last year. So I think he's conserving them. You only want to do so many posters and shit throughout the season because you got to save your energy. If you're just trying to do like 5 posters a game, then you're gonna run out of steam by the end of the year. So that's why he's conserving it. But I would like to see him drive a little more. But I also understand why because you got Randall who's playmaking. So you're shooting catch and shoots off of him, and he's really good at catch and shoots now.
Hmm.
And then Rudy Gobert is in the lane, so a lot of times when Rudy Gobert, it's like easier for him to attack when Nas Reed's out there,
Right.
because when Rudy's out there, it's hard for him to attack, and he's not a great passer or a lob thrower. So like, even though he has gotten slightly better at that, but like if he was better at that, then he could attack with Rudy down there, because then he could just throw it out to Rudy if they
Hmm.
come. But he's more like wanting to score, which I get. Like that's how Jaylen Brown is. He's not trying to like throw hoops all day. He's trying to score. Like and that's how Ant Man is. So I understand, but he has to get better at that. But anyways, Ant Man definitely is number two on the list because I think that he has the best chance to be like in his prime when he's like 26 or 27,
Hmm.
the best player in the world. And now my because it was between him, Paulo, and Chet for me, for like the only other players that could be because Chet could be maybe the best player in the world. I think one day. This is just like possibly as a small percentage. I'm not saying that
Right.
he's
Right.
going to be the. I'm just saying if he like meets all his physical, he could possibly be the best or in the conversation. And I think Paulo could too. And so that's why they were like all in the conversation. But I went with Ant Man because I felt the most confidence in him that in like 3 or 4 years when he reaches his absolute prime, that he could be the best player in the world.
Right.
And so that's why they're there. But so who's your number three?
At number three, I do have Paulo. Uh,
Yeah, so we got the same top three, which
yeah,
is makes sense for me.
yeah. I just think I think when he does hit his peak, I think he does. I think he's just going to be one of the best offensive players in the league, in my
Yeah,
opinion. Just with his combination of size, skill, just being a good passer, being able to get downhill whenever he wants to, the in between
yeah,
game. Yeah, and I think he's an improving pull up 3 point shooter and catch and shoot 3 point shooter. So if you
yeah.
just combine that set of skills and he's not a super great defender, but he's not a slouch on that end either. So,
No.
but especially with his
He's like a
size,
mix. He's like a mix of like a Tatum. Like if he reaches his peak, he could be like a mix of like a Tatum with like a LeBron, like
right?
kind of mix. Not saying that he's going to be as good as Tatum or LeBron, but he could possibly be
Hmm.
the best player in the world too. I'm not like this is how much potential that he has, and it's because his size, his physical ability, his handle, his passing, his IQ, his scoring ability. He's going to be one of the best offensive players in the league. He was before he got hurt. He was going
He was
crazy.
on
He
that
had
trajectory.
50. Yeah, he's having 50. He's going to be one of the top players in the league this year. And he's only what 21 years old,
Hmm.
and he's already doing this. So he's on that same trajectory as Tatum was, and I believe in him just as much as I believed in Tatum when Tatum was that age, honestly. to be a great player, offensive player, and he's not bad on defense. He's pretty good on defense. Obviously, health is the biggest thing. Like we want him to come back healthy from this, so I don't want him to rush back because I need him to be like the same Paulo before he got hurt.
Right.
But he's definitely number 3 on my list because I feel like he could be a better number 1 option than number 4 on my list, which is Chet. Is that your number 4?
Yeah, I do have Chet number 4, just based off of the two-way play and the offensive upside that he has. Because I think right now he's currently well, before he
He
got
still
hurt,
has untapped potential offensively.
right before he got hurt, he definitely was anchoring the OKC defense. They had undisputably the best defense in the league. With even now, I
And
think they
he's
still
to me was the best
have the best
defensive
defense
player
in
in
the
the
league.
league.
Yeah, I think he was gonna. Yeah, I think he was gonna win if he.
Him and Wemby, but I feel like it was him.
Yeah, if he was able to meet the game requirement, I think he probably would have had a really good chance of winning a DPOI. So
I
yeah,
do. I feel like that.
it is unfortunate that he did get hurt, but yeah, I think he just him being one of the best defensive players in the league and him becoming slowly an offensive player, just like we saw the improvement this year was off the dribble game.
Yeah.
Just some of his
I think
making
Chet has
stuff in the mid
untapped
range.
potential offensively as a number 1 too. Like say that SGA went down and he
Mm-hmm.
got to like actually just take a bunch of shots and just more of the offensive workload. Like for like even a month, I bet we would see some big ass games out of Chet.
No, we definitely would.
Um, so I think that he has that untapped potential, and so they just need to figure out how to get because it also got J Dub.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 3 of them, and then they got a bunch of other players too that are good. So it's hard to really go for like 30, 40 points as a young player when you have all these great players that you're playing with.
Right.
Um, and that's kind of like what like a Jaylen Brown or somebody has been going through where he had to learn how to score
Mm-hmm.
amongst other good players because he wasn't the best player on the team. So you have to learn how to be more efficient. You have to learn how to take advantage of the opportunities you're given because you're not going to get just like unlimited amount of shots and touches. Um, but as they get older and stuff, Chet he's a dominant defender. And he's only 21, and in a couple of years, he's going to be a top 5 player in my opinion. So he had to be number 4 for me because there's kind of like a drop off in as far as like franchise players
Mm-hmm.
for me after number 4. Who's your number 5?
Number 5, I do have Ja Morant because I think he's probably the guy that has the most proven track record, in my opinion.
Yep.
Now, granted, the injury history, it is what it is. He
Yeah,
hasn't really been able to stay healthy,
that's an issue.
but just as a pure talent, I mean, I do think that Ja is just. I mean, he's good. I mean, he's one of the best offensive ends in the league, one of the best rim finishers, and just a guy that generating rim pressures and just creating advantages, and also one of the best passers in the league at the age that he is. So I just like him. Like and he's like I said, he's the most proven as a guy that can actually lead a franchise. Not necessarily,
Yeah,
like, maybe not necessarily with his person. Well, I mean, I think he's gotten better now. He hasn't really done he hasn't really done anything crazy off the court or anything like that. But just him, like we've seen him go toe to toe with the Warriors in a series before, and barring injury, we
yeah,
don't know how the series outcome would have came. I mean, would have went. So
right.
yeah, I just think
No,
that
I think that
he's the
Ja's
most proven.
definitely, yeah, he's the most proven besides probably Ant-Man.
Right.
But yeah, he deserves that spot. I got Lamelo at 5,
Mm,
and it was simply because of Ja's injury history. If
hmm.
Ja was healthy right now, he would be number 5. He would be where Lamelo is, and I would have Lamelo at 6. Um, because I think Ja's a straight up better player than Lamelo. But Lamelo doesn't, and Lamelo has injury history too. But Ja's injury history just, I don't know, man. It's scaring me. It's actually scaring me. He's getting to that Zion level of like, bro, are we gonna get to see you play? And I know he had the suspension too, which kind of
Yeah,
felt like an injury because he was gone for a long time. But then as soon as he got back from that, he was hurt
he got
and
hurt with
missed
the
that.
shoulder.
And now it's this, and I just want to see him play basketball, man. It's like when I'm doing this top 20 under 25, that's why Zion is not even on my list.
He's never available.
Yeah, like if I was drafting a top 20, say I was in a draft and I had to pick my future of my franchise for the next 5 to 10 seasons, and I could have like some of these guys that are at the bottom of my list, these young players like Dyson Daniels or Klingon or even Scotty Barnes or something.
Hmm.
Zion's obviously a way better player than these guys. But if I'm going to have Zion as my number 1 option, then do I trust him to build a team around this guy so he can be durable and be there every night for my team to be the best player on my team? Because when you have Zion on your team, he's immediately needs the ball and has to be the center of the team, or
Right.
else it doesn't make sense for you to have him on the team, honestly. He's not a role player type of player. And so um, that's why he didn't even make my list. And that might be controversial, especially to New Orleans Pelicans fans, because they're probably like, "What? He definitely deserves to be on the list." And I get that, but I'm just telling you, as a GM, like Zion scares me. I would be if I'm the Pelicans, I would have tried to trade Zion before he got hurt this time because while he had some value, because if he gets hurt out another time after this, then you really have no
Yeah, your
value,
value plummets.
and then you're gonna get peanuts for him. And so, I don't know. He scares me as a GM, so that's why he's not on my list. But that's why Ja is number 6
Mm-hmm.
because he's gonna be if he keeps getting hurt, he's gonna plummet down my list too. Because, bro, I can't count on you to be on the court, and that's just what it
Yeah,
is.
that
It sucks, and
2019
it's a
draft
shame.
class, man.
Yeah, that draft class because it was so exciting and high flying, like with those two. But damn, bro. So after that, I got after Ja. Now there's like a little more of a drop off because my next couple are like players that I really am high on, but like I'm not 100% sure where their
Where they're gonna
ceiling
end
is
up?
gonna be.
Right.
Yes, so like a lot of these guys are like that where I feel really good about them, especially these next 3 or 4 players. And I feel really good about their ceilings in their especially when they reach their primes.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? You don't really know. Like they still have flaws in their game, and they have to clean that up. And it's not 100% that they will. Um, but who do you have?
At number 6, I do have Lamelo. For a lot of the same reasons. So just for a lot of the same reasons you said, I
We
think.
think alike at the top.
Yeah, I think like he's one
We're
of the
close.
same thing with Ja. I think he's one of the best offensive players in the league. He's also probably one of the best shooters in the league so far this season. He's been one of the best scorers in the league as well. So that when you have
Yep.
that combination of those 3 things, especially at the size and the playmaking ability at his size, I just think that that's just a very good combo for a very good
And
player for a long time in the league. And I'm not really necessarily mad at the argument for him over Ja, in my opinion. But I just think, like I said, I've actually seen it with Ja. I haven't yet seen it with Lamelo in a
right.
setting, or just even. I mean, we really only got one full season from Lamelo, well, 2, if we're including his rookie year, and then his second his
Yeah.
sophomore year. So yeah, I mean that's the only thing that will hold me back from putting him over Ja. But yeah, I do feel comfortable with Lamelo at number 6, and then number.
And LaMelo is very.
Okay.
Let me just say something about LaMelo. Like he's kind of like it'd be controversial. Probably some people might say he should be even lower
Mm-hmm.
on the list. I've even had Hornets fans say that benching. I had somebody say to me that, oh, if he keeps doing acting like this, I don't know if I want him on my team.
Right.
And this is a Hornets fan telling me that. And I think he's so talented that I would never think that. But I also get what he's saying, where it's like, bro, if you're a star player getting benched because you can't do the little things and you're a bad leader and stuff. So that scares me about him being this high on the list. But
Mm-hmm.
pure talent wise, I love Lamelo, and I think that he's even got even higher upside in a couple years. He could be one of the best point guards in the NBA, because he does everything that you want. And he's got size for his position too. He's not like
Right.
small, and he's a great passer. And we could list all the things that Lamelo does, and he has a lot of things that he has to work on. But as far as just being a great offensive player, he is that, and he deserves to be up on the list because there's like a little drop off in offensive talent after this to me. And these are like more two-way players, like number 7, number 8, number 9. Because I got Cade, even though he's more of an offensive player. But at number 7, I got Cade.
Mm-hmm.
Could be an argument to be made that like I could have put Franz, in my opinion, over Cade. Like it, it's possible that because Franz right now is probably a little bit better than Cade, or he's playing a little better, even though Cade has been playing good too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's close with Franz and Cade, honestly, and to me, in my eyes. But I like Cade because he's a little bit better of a playmaker. Well, actually, he's a lot better than a playmaker. Um, he's an elite playmaker for his size,
Right.
especially, and he looks like. Well, I love watching Cade play, like his decision making, his passing, and everything. But he has to get more efficient as a scorer too,
Mm-hmm.
and he has to get better as a 3-point shooter. It's kind of the same thing with Franz. but Franz's are a little bit further along with scoring, in my opinion. So that's why. But the reason why Cade is just one spot is because I think that he's just an elite playmaker, and if he can clean up the turnovers and get a little bit better as a shooter, in a couple years, I think he's gonna. I think this is the bright spot for him. I think that he's gonna be a little bit better than these other guys below him. So who's your number seven?
Number seven, I do have Franz, just
Okay, so
because.
you have Franz over Cade, yeah?
Yeah, just because I like his just his finishing ability a little bit more. I like his craftiness, just getting into the lane. Just with the vast amount of Euro steps and hop gathers and floaters and things that he
He's
does.
a better defender too.
And he's a better defender as well. And like I said, my main thing with Franz this year specifically was that he added an in between game, which is the only thing that I think was holding him back
Yeah,
as
you're high on the on his mid range now.
yeah, as a scorer, and I'd like that his 3 point shooting has come back to what it was in his third season, and and just the 2 way versatility. And I don't think he's the playmaker that Cade is, but I don't think he's that far, in my opinion. So I do like Franz over Cade. In my, I like his size a little more. I like his defense a little more, and I like his finish ability
Yeah.
a little more. It's just and the combination of those three things is just I think that he's a better player.
Yeah, he is right now. He's a better player, but I want to see, like, in my opinion, I think if I had to pick between Cade and Franz, I would take Cade
Hmm.
over like, but it's very very close. Like if you gave me Franz instead of Cade, I'd be like whatever.
I'm not
You know,
mad,
that's how
right?
close it is. Yeah, but I'm not mad about that. But I do think that Cade, once he has like a good team around him,
Hmm.
um, I don't know, just something about his pat. I have a fetish for like great passers.
Yeah,
That's probably why I
I
have
like how
Lamelo so
quickly
high.
he gets the ball out of his hands. That's one thing I do love about Cage
He
as
does,
a playmaker.
and he can pass with both hands,
Yep,
and it's hard to find players
could
that could
do that.
accurately get it into shooters' pockets or get it into the big man. And he has all these little angles and stuff, kind of like Harden.
Hmm.
You know, Harden has like all these little angles that he finds
Yep.
for passes, and I see that a little bit of that with Cade. And so I'm a sucker for shit like that. Um, so that's probably why I got Cade higher. But Franz is great too. But who's your number eight? Because that's my number eight is Franz.
At number eight, I do have my guy, Bilal Coulibaly. At number eight, just
Okay.
I think just the when he is in his peak form, I just think that his 2 way play, because I do think he'll be one of the better, if not one of the best defenders in the NBA. I do see small NBA things in his future, and I just like mainly his scoring upside. He's one of I mean, even right now statistically, he's one of the best finishers in the league. I
Hmm.
like his developing mid range game, and I
Yeah.
also like his 3 point shooting as well. I'm not sure he's not really a good pull up 3 point shooter yet right now. I think he's more of a better pull up mid range shooter. And I like it, and I also like his passing ability, in my opinion. So just the combination of those three things, like, and if you're already one of the best finishers
He's a prototype.
in
That's
year
my
two,
nickname for him.
yeah, I
That's my
agree.
nickname for
I
him.
agree.
He's my number nine. So we're like seeing very eye to eye on most of our lists. Um, and because we always talk ball, so like I feel like we're
Hmm.
like on the same page on some stuff. But and this is a lot higher than a lot because I have him number nine. Uh, a lot of people probably wouldn't have him. Like I was looking before we made this list because I
Hmm.
didn't want to like forget anybody, so I was looking at like other lists of like top 25, under 25, and shit like that. And they didn't have Koulibaly even in the top 25
Right.
in any of them. And I'm like, bro, these dudes are bugging. But he's taking a leap this year. But I always liked him. I even liked him last year. But I think that he has the potential out of all these players um, to be like a Kawhi Leonard type of player, where I say like the prototype. He's even more explosive getting downhill and finishing at the rim and stuff than Kawhi. He's a different player than Kawhi. I'm not saying he's like plays like
I
Kawhi,
like that
but
T
like
Mac
that
cap.
type of
I like
impact.
that T Mac comp you gave him.
Yeah,
That
T
stuck
Mac.
with me.
He's got some T Mac too, and but I mean that to say the two-way play, like the
Hmm.
impact that because T Mac was in a lockdown defender. Like in Kawhi Leonard is one of the best defenders ever, and not saying that he's going to be Kawhi on defense, but like that's what I see for Coulibaly, where he's like an elite defender and still elite on offense, like a
Right.
Kawhi. So he has a higher ceiling than even like a Lamelo or a Cade or a Franz to me. because his defensive ability is elite. His finishing is elite. His athletic ability is more elite than all these guys. If he like puts it all together in his prime, because he's only 20.
Right.
I'm pretty sure he's only 20 years
Yeah,
old,
he just
just
turned
like
20.
Wemby. Him and Wemby are only 20. So he's even a year younger than all these other guys. And he finishes like 80%, 90% at the rim. He's great at getting downhill. His handles are good. I love Koulibaly. I love Koulibaly. And I've been watching him more and more. And because I always had Brandon Miller. Remember, I was telling you that I thought Brandon Miller was better than Koulibaly, which he is probably slightly
Right this
better right
second.
now. And Brandon Miller had a great game, and he's on my. I'm like on in the FC Brandon Miller FC, like because I liked him before he came out, and I was like on the Brandon Miller train. So like I root for Brandon Miller, but like my own eyes tell me, as like if I'm a GM, that Koulibaly has a higher ceiling, because of his defensive ability and his get downhill and his athletic ability, and I could see him turning into like a Jimmy Butler, uh, or a Kawhi Leonard type of player. Um, Not same type of like comp, like style of play, but just impact
Right.
on a team. Um, and so that's why he's high. And we both have him way higher than most analysts would. And that's why I love Ball Up Top, because we don't give a fuck what other analysts think. We just go over
Do
what
our
we want.
thing. Yep.
Yeah, because why? Why would I have a podcast so I could be like everybody else? But so who's number 10? Because I think like my number 10 is higher than probably
Oh wait, no,
yours.
I had Koulibaly 8. Yeah, Franz
Oh,
7,
oh
and
yeah.
then
So who's your
9.
number 9? Because
At
Koulibaly's
9,
my number 9. Who's your
at,
9?
at 9, I do have Mobley. Just due to the two-way play. That
Yeah.
I do like with Mobley, and especially the offensive leap that he's taken this season has really just moved me off how I think he is as an offensive player, just especially just like with his driving stuff and just being able to take advantage of mismatches. He's not just a guy that you can put smaller guys on now, and especially if you were to put him at the 5, I think he would cause havoc just as an offensive 5 as well. And I just like some. I mean, he has some passing stuff. He's become a improved shooter, and he was a DPO wide level candidate is like his second or third year in the league. So just the combination of all those things you put together in a 7-footer, especially like he's switchable defensively. I just like that guy, that player. I think that player has. I think that guy has the potential to be like a top 25 player, a top 20 player.
Yeah. No, I got Mobley a couple spots below you, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I like Mobley, and he looks good against the Celtics tonight, and he continues to look better. His handle, he's dribbling up the court.
Mm-hmm.
He's got like a little bit of Al Horford in his game, like where Al Horford used to bring the ball up the court out for a rebound, and now I see Mobley doing that, and I like that. And he's flying up the court when he has it. He's not like moving slow. He's moving like a
He getting up the
regular.
court. He's getting up it.
Exactly. And he's starting to get more comfortable in his own like moves and his own handle, his own like offense.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell it doesn't look as clunky. It's a little more smooth. I like the way he's progressing. I don't think he progressed as quickly as people thought he would.
Mm-hmm.
I think people thought he would be like one of these players that would be like on the number 1 or 2 spot on our list, like when he first came out. And
Right.
so it's kind of like a
It's a
small
slow cook.
it's a slow cook, and it's kind of a small like downgrade from where we thought he would be, but still like an all-star level player in his
Mm-hmm.
prime, and gonna be like a super impactful player. And so yeah, I understand that pick. Uh who's your number 10?
At 10, I do have Cade.
Okay.
For pretty much for all the same reason as you said. He's pretty much he's becoming a two-way player. In a way, he's not like an elite defender, but he is very solid on that end. You can't really attack him. I like just his IQ on lanes and things like that. I think he's pretty solid at POA. He's good off ball, and I like his offensive ability. But like you said, he needs to improve his efficiency. I think he needs to shoot more threes, in my opinion. I think that'll help improve his scoring because I do think he is a good shooter. He does like to settle for a lot of mid ranges, which I don't think is bad in my opinion. But you can
Yeah.
turn some of those mid range looks into 3-point looks. So he does do that, and he needs to become a better finisher at the rim.
He's a
specifically.
really good mid-range shooter, so I don't
Hmm.
want him to stop shooting
Yeah, I
mid-range.
don't
But
want
I
him to
know what
stop
you
shooting.
mean.
Yeah,
That he
just
could shoot a couple more threes.
yeah, it's kind of the same thing
Um,
with Booker at times. You kind of wish that he take more threes instead of a lot of long contested twos. Which I mean, if you're very efficient at that shot, it's not a bad shot. It's just
yeah,
that it would be better to get some threes at some times, but and it also needs to become
yeah,
the thing with K. He needs to become a better finisher. I like this year that
yeah,
he got into the rim more, but he hasn't finished at the rate that I would like to see personally. So
yeah. Or get to the line as much as he
yeah, he
should.
doesn't really get so
Like for his
much either.
size, you
Right.
when you're 6'8" or whatever,
Hmm.
like and you're as coordinated as you should be able to get to the line. You
Right.
should be able to get the people up in the air and get to the line, or the little moves like where you get somebody because you get somebody in your body and they
Hmm.
reach in and you just lift up your arm with the ball and you should be getting to the line like
Right.
the rip through and
Hmm.
then go for the and one. He's big enough to be doing that against people like and so like that's a move that I'd like to see him do more. And but he's really good in the mid range, passing and everything. My number 10 is another dude that is probably higher than a lot of people, but he's going to be rising up people's boards. Um, and I know you're the number one stan, but Shaden Sharp's my number 10.
Oh yeah, my boy. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
he's looking like a young Kobe, young T Mac on offense. He's got to work on his defense. He's got to hit the weight room.
Hmm.
Even though I don't want him to gain too much weight because I don't want to take away from his explosiveness because he's so explosive, and I don't want him to get like where if you put on like 20 more pounds and the next thing you know you're not jumping as high and
Right.
shit like that. So I want him to like find a fine line, but he could get a little stronger, especially on defense.
Hmm.
But he's so explosive. Um, he's probably the most explosive leaper, even better than Ant-Man and them. As far as like, I
Surely.
think he's going to be the most explosive leaper in the NBA for a star player because when he is a star player,
Hmm.
right now he's the best player on the Blazers. Not even close. It's not even close. He's the
I
best
agree.
player on the Blazers. They can't even play. Like if they're trying to tank, then they can't even play Shaden Sharp. They're gonna have to find little injury excuses and shit so they can tank like they did last season because they were doing that last season because every time Shaden Sharp comes in there, he starts cooking.
Yeah, they started
So
winning it.
he's a fucking bucket. He's a bucket. I love Shaden Sharp, and he's in like it's funny to me because he's only 21 years old. Um, he has so much upside. Uh, and the only reason why he's not higher than like a Franz or a Cade or all these other dudes to me, because I love his offensive upside, is because his defense.
Right.
And he's just like an offensive player. And so I don't want him to just be like a Zach LaVine. Because, Zach LaVine is like a kind of a comp for him too.
Hmm.
Because he's like just an offensive player and he's a really good offensive player. But it's just like, is that all you are? Are you going to be like more? So hopefully that Shaden can at least be a better defender than Zach LaVine. So that's a low bar, but I think he could be a little better than that. If he can be a better defender than Zach LaVine, that's a good ass player, man.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the difference between Shaden and Zach is I think Shaden's probably a better playmaker in my opinion because
yeah.
yeah because I mean he did have a growth spurt he did
No,
shoot
he's more impressive at his age than Zach LaVine was at his age.
right.
Shaden Sharp, I'm just saying that's a comp as like his
Oh, a low end.
archetype.
Okay.
Uh, is that his like archetype? Like where he's going to be that
Yeah,
kind of
I can
player,
see that.
maybe even if he's a better offensive player, but like where he doesn't play defense, then he's going to have to be super elite on offense
Hmm.
to make up for that. But it's you can work around that if you have all the good defensive players around a Shane Sharp who's super elite on offense, and he's carrying that because I already can tell that he's going to be a maybe a 30-point scorer one day. I feel like that, especially how good his 3-point shot is
Hmm.
off the dribble, off the catch. He's so explosive. He catches oops. He's great in transition. He's so fun to watch. If I was a Blazers fan, I would be excited about him and Klingon, who actually did make my list at uh, the very, very end. Shaden Sharp is, I could rave about Shaden Sharp and just,
Yeah, that's my
like, I
guy.
watch his highlights, and I know you love him, so why don't you talk about him? Oh, actually, yeah, you can talk about him. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I mean, my
Even
main
though I
thing.
know you didn't pick him yet.
Yeah, no, I actually had him next on my list at number 11, right behind Cade.
Oh,
Uh,
see?
So that's my guy. Yeah, man. I think the main strength of Shaden's game, like you said, the catch and shoot ability on and off the dribble. I think his mid range is like very very elite in my opinion, especially when
Right.
he's coming out those clinging
He's
screens.
3 levels.
Yeah, and the drop and whatnot. And I think he's gonna be. I mean, right now he's only played like 4 or 5 games, but I think he's like 74% at the rim or something crazy like that. So I think it's gonna be a very good attribute in this game, and like just the ability to play on and off the ball, and just his
And he doesn't even look like he's busting a sweat.
yeah, that guy's just out
He's
there.
so cool.
Yeah, he's just the only gripe I do have with him is
He's got 100% aura.
oh
Like
no, he's not,
when I like Shaden Sharp's aura is through the roof, bro. I can't even lie.
nah,
Like
he's
I'm
got
like,
it.
oh, I'm not an aura. I'm not an aura. Like I don't give a fuck because you got to. I always say you got to be born with aura to talk
Hmm.
about aura, and people weren't born with aura, so they need to stop talking about it because you see these weaves on the internet talking about
Yeah,
aura. But yeah, Shaden Sharp is dripping aura, bro. Like some people just got that, and like, and when he has the ball, I'm like, just give the like. When I
just
watch
give it to
Portland,
Shaden.
it's like give.
Just give it to Shaden.
I'm like, give it to him, bro. Like every single time. That's how I know he's gonna be a star because all my star players that I like watched coming up, I'm always like, give him the ball, bro. Like,
Hmm.
why are you not giving him the ball? And he's one of them kid. He's one of them kids, man. I see that all over him that he's gonna be one of those guys.
Yeah,
He already is, really.
yeah, one of the improvements I would like to see from him, but I think he will get right during the offseason because I don't think he had a really chance to work on his game like how he wanted to during the offseason due to the core muscle injury and then the shoulder injury he suffered during the training camp. But his handle, that's the one thing that I think is gonna hold that could hold him back. I don't think it will because like
No,
I
yeah,
think
he could get. He has to get a lot better at it,
right,
but
but
he has the capability. It's not like he doesn't like have a left or anything,
right, yeah, I just think
right?
I just think once his handle improves, it's pretty much gonna be the sky's the limits for that
It's
guy.
over. It's over if he handles, and it will. Every player's handle gets slightly better over the years,
Yep.
and he's so explosive that if he just has his handle progress and he has a couple go-to moves,
Hmm.
because man,
He's not really a
he's
ball. He's not really a ball stopper either. He doesn't really because I think that would
no,
be because the thing with Ant even now sometimes is that he doesn't really like to he'd rather do it all himself than get the ball out of his hands. What I've noticed with Shade, he doesn't really care too much about that. In my opinion,
yeah.
he's a quick swinger.
He's got good feel.
He's a quick. That's the one
Yeah,
thing that I do like with players that if you're getting off of the ball very quickly, you're making very quick decisions, and
right.
and I have noticed that with him even through his first three, even his rookie year, he did that. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
Shane's gonna be one of those guys in the league.
yeah. He's naturally got that gift too of like spacing. Like
Hmm.
he knows his spacing. He knows like when he could do something. He doesn't like force himself into traffic or do dumb shit a lot. Like
Yeah.
he's pretty much got a plan, or he's just confident and that he can just rise up over everybody. And so I love watching him. But my number 11 is Mobley because I
Okay.
haven't had Mobley yet. You know, but he's deserving, and we already talked about him.
At 12, I do have Garland, my guy, man. I just think he's one of the best point guards in the league, one of the best pure point guards left in the league. Just what he can do on and off the ball, and just as a passer, and just running an offense in general. I don't think he'll be able to lead one of the. He probably be able to lead a top 10 offense in the league. I'm not sure he'll be able to lead like a top 5 offense as a primary ball handler, but that guy's your second.
I'm just laughing because we got him so high after that game.
Oh yeah, oh
After
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
game, he
After that
was
game, it
terrible.
is kind of crazy, but it's like, yeah, I mean, just what I've seen from him, especially the first 15 games of the season, it's like he's clearly
Hmm.
been one of the best guards in the East and just in the league in general.
Yeah.
Like I said, the on and off ball stuff.
So
Just
do you think that because this is where I like had a uh, debate in my head was
hmm
like because it's between Halliburton, Maxey, and Garland. It's like they're all like kind of in the same.
yeah, the
It's
same
hard for me
boat.
to say who's better.
Hmm.
Like, because sometimes I feel like Maxey has the most upside. I feel like Halliburton. Like, if you asked me last year, it would have been easily Halliburton.
Right.
So like, and now Halliburton's kind of like hurt, and I guess he's got like a back issue, and so I don't want to say that he's never going to be back to like where he was.
Hmm.
Um, so could Halliburton? Uh, it's hard for me to pick between those guys, but anyway, I like Garland. He had a bad game, but shit, we can't let.
Yeah, it happens.
That's why I've been watching basketball way too long. Like you do like Garland, the way he's been playing and how talented he is. I'm not gonna just let one game decide
Sway it, right.
sway my rankings. But um, yeah, because I got him at 12 too. And the thing about it is like I like that he's a scorer, a passer. Like he's a better scorer than Halliburton. Basically, is
Mm-hmm.
why I got him higher than Halliburton
All
because
right, I agree.
I feel
That's why
like
I have Helen higher. That's
Halliburton
why.
maybe
Okay.
Halliburton may be a better passer, slightly better, but Garland's also a great passer.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my separation on that. So we got him at 12.
Yep, and then at 13.
Darius, yeah, we
Yeah.
got Darius Garland at 12, and I got Maxey at 13. He's a good scorer. He's an explosive player. He's injured right now, and I thought he would be like a little better even when he played this year. But he's still young, and he's a great player. He's an all-star level player, and I'm not sure how high his ceiling will be, but I think he's good enough to be a number two on a great team, and not this year because the
Right.
Sixers aren't going to be a great team this year, but in the future, he's good enough. So that's why I got Maxey there. Who's your number 13?
13, I do have Jaren Jackson Jr. Just basically because,
Okay,
especially
you
even
got him higher than me, a lot
yeah,
higher,
yeah. What I do like about Jaren is even the
but
same
I
thing,
like him.
kind of the same
Go
thing I
ahead.
said with Mobley, just his improvement as a scorer, especially last season without when Ja was out. They put a lot of offensive burden on him last year, and he was able to carry it in some senses throughout the season last year. Just I think he averaged like 24 points a game on like
Yeah,
pretty good efficiency and whatnot. And just I just think that the combination of that and his defensive capabilities, he's already won a DPOY and things like that. If the combination of those two things, I just think that's a really hard player to pass up on. I think that guy can be a number. I mean, I think I like him more so as a number three option, but he can be your number two on possibly.
but with the defense, I mean, he's elite.
Mm-hmm.
There's an argument can be made that he's a more impactful player than a Halliburton or a Maxey.
Mm-hmm.
um, just because of his defense and his offense combination. The reason why that I don't have him higher, I think, was just because of he's got injury history
He
too,
does.
and he's like gets in foul trouble easily. He does some dumb things sometimes, but like you said, he's a good scorer for a big man. And last year he proved that when Ja was out, and I had him kind of low, and because he's probably a better player than some of these guys now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like some of these guys I have above him have like a little higher upside, like a Scotty Barnes or something, who I have higher than JJ. Even though I like JJJ better, right now I like Jaren Jackson better, like as a more impactful player currently.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that or even a J Dub who I got over him. And it's just because I think that in the long term they could be a little bit better.
Right.
But uh, so that was your 13th, right? So
Right.
who's your 14th?
At 14, I do have Scotty Barnes for a lot of the same reasons that I do have Jaren Jackson, just his defensive impact, in my opinion. I mean, I don't think
Yeah,
now this is the difference between him and Jaren. I don't think Barnes right now can develop into a second option. I'm not really too sure about them. Just his scoring versatility. His offense is still kind of clunky at times. But I mean, him as a defender, just as a connector in general, I just like that kind of player. In my opinion, he's an improving
yeah.
player. He's an improving shooter as well, and I like him just as an off ball player sometimes as well. So yeah, I think I have Scotty at 14. I think it's a pretty good
All
ranking
right.
for him.
My number 14 is Brandon Miller.
Mm-hmm.
22 years old, cold-blooded shooter. He played good tonight. He had 29 points efficiently. He's a pretty good playmaker, good handle. He reminds me of Paul George, he said is his GOAT. He reminds
Mm-hmm.
me of a young Paul George a little bit, but a little bit more of a shooting guard-ish kind of Paul George, where he's more of a shooter too.
All right.
Even though Paul George is a great shooter, but like I don't know, Miller's got a pure shot. That's pretty
I
much
think he's
what I like about him.
a more willing off ball player than Paul George.
Yes, more willing off ball, and he's just impressive to me, and I've always been a fan of his coming out. So I love Brandon Miller. Who's your 14? Or did you just say 14?
Yeah. 14 was Barnes. I'm
Okay,
at
so my 15 is J Dub.
hmm
Who's your 15?
at 15. I do have Hallie.
Okay, so Hallie's your 15. So yeah,
hmm
J Dub, he's good. His defenses look better this year. His scoring is getting better every single year. I really like J Dub. He's like he's 23, almost 24. So the reason why he's not like in the Koulibaly Franz like level up or Cade level for me is just because of his age. He's
hmm
like a little bit older, and I think these other dudes are like younger and just have a little bit higher upside as like a number one. Um, but I do like J Dub, especially because he's a two-way player. I love
hmm
two-way wings. Those are like the most valuable position you can have in the NBA.
Right.
So he could even go be higher on a lot of people's lists. My number 16 is Halliburton. Uh, I like Halliburton. A lot of people would have him in the top 10. And last year, he deserved to be in the top 10 of this list. He was one of the top 10 players in the whole NBA, probably.
hmm
I like Halliburton. He could rise way above my rankings that I have him for him now, but I am nervous that his shot creation is gonna limit him, and like he can't be the number one. He needs to be a number two. Even like I like Siakam is not like the greatest number one in the world, but
hmm
he's still the number one with Halliburton on the team. That's why they need Mathurin to step up too,
hmm
because Halliburton's just not a scorer, and that's fine. That's not his game, but that's why he's on. That's why he's 16 on my list because he's not like a go-to scorer. Even though he can make clutch threes here and there, and he can has his little like unique ways of scoring, and that are like if you watch Halliburton a lot, you're like this dude finds weird ass ways to score the ball,
hmm
which is like he doesn't do it normal ways, but he's a super high
A bucket
IQ
is a
player,
bucket.
and he's like a culture player, and he's like a system where he's making that pacer system, and that's why I think a lot of people would rank him higher than I have him because he's like a hub of an offense, and he kind of like makes an elite offense. But I always look at like the, I'm looking at like ceiling when
hmm
I'm drafting these players, so that's why he's there for me. Who's your 16?
At 16, I do have Jalen Johnson. Just
Yeah.
because I just think that the improvements that he's made, just like just year after year as an offensive player, especially as a passer, I do like him a lot, and I like his down
Mm-hmm.
pressure. I like him as a short roller. I just like him playing off of somebody else. I mean, him and Trae as a two-man duo, in my opinion. I think offensively, I just like I said, his downhill ability. I think he's an improving shooter. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Not really off of the dribble, not quite yet. I do like him as a catch and shoot guy. I think I like him a little bit more off the dribble in the mid range. I like him as a rebounder. I like him as a defender, not necessarily at a POA or like stand in front of guys, but I do like him as a backline guy. And yeah, I
He's
just
the
like.
first guy that you have on your list that I don't have on my list, but he's like on the honorable mentions, Jalen
hmm
Johnson. He just
Okay.
didn't make mine. But okay, so number 17 for me was Scotty Barnes. I got him a little lower than you, but I
hmm
still like Scotty Barnes a lot. Uh, he's getting better as a shooter, and he's really good at pretty much everything else. He's for his size, he's really talented. He's an energy player.
hmm
I don't know if he's a number one on a championship team, but he'd probably be like a high end number two when he reaches his peak,
hmm
and so that's why he's at 17 for me. Number 18. Did you do your 17?
No, 17. No, 17 for me. I have a J Dub. Just I
Okay,
like.
J Dub's your 17. I
Yeah.
just talked about J Dub,
Right.
so let's move on to 18. 18's Jaren Jackson Jr. for me. We
hmm
already talked about Jaren Jackson. So who's your 18?
18. I do have Miller. I got Brandon Miller at 18.
Okay, Brandon Miller. We just talked about Brandon Miller,
hmm
so that's your 18. My 19, Dyson Daniels, just because defense and like he really impressed me that Celtics game when he had
hmm
30 and was playing crazy defense, and he impresses me every game I watch him. I love watching Dyson Daniels, and I'm not just getting on the Dyson Daniels train. I've actually always liked Dyson Daniels. I really like defensive players. I'm infatuated with hard playing defensive players,
hmm
so that was my number 19. He's taken a big leap in Atlanta, and I think he's just going to continue to get better every season. And he's so elite on defense that you only need him to be like a 18 point a game scorer, like 6, 7 assists, 6, 7, 8 rebounds, and his defense is so elite that that's like a championship caliber cornerstone player. So I love Dyson Daniels,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm hoping that Stephon Castle is going to be like a Dyson Daniels too. And he's on my honorable mentions
Right.
because I love Castle. He didn't make it. The only person that made it from this draft class is actually at my number 20, which is Donovan Clingan.
Okay.
Because I'm just really impressed with his defense. He outplayed Gobert. He looks like a Gobert type of player, but even maybe a little bit better than Gobert
Yeah, because he can actually catch.
offensively. Yeah, he can catch. He can even shoot threes a little. Like even though he's not like a good shooter,
Efficient.
but yeah, he's not like a good shooter where he's going to be shooting them all the time. But he's like capable and could get better, like a Brook Lopez maybe. And I just love his defense. He looks like he's just one of the best defensive players to come into the NBA. And I'm a UConn Husky fan, so like I already knew that he was going to be an elite defender in the NBA. I was just worried about basically his offense, but he's shown me enough in the NBA. And I was also worried about his lateral movement, which I am still worried about in certain matchups. But that's just like a Gobert problem that he's going to have for himself. But like he's going to be one of those Gobert type of impact players right away, and he's way better than like even a Myers Leonard was to me. Um, as far as just skill and dominance on defense, he's scary to go in on there. He embarrasses dudes.
Mm-hmm.
He straight up embarrasses them, and he's a bully. I like that about him. He's a real bully. So who's your 19 and 20?
19, I do have Bub Carrington, the point guard from Washington.
Yeah,
I just
that's
value.
your guy.
Yeah, I just think that how can I explain this? I just value his two-way play. This is mostly
Yeah,
because
he's
I just
all around. Like he's a triple
yeah
double threat.
yeah he rebounds. He's a very
Yeah.
good passer. He's going to be a very good scorer. He's a very good defender, and as a guard, he's 6'5" as well as a point guard. So if you have those combination of skills as a
Yeah.
guard, I just think that that's a really good player. That's possibly an all-star or a lower tier all-star
Yeah.
caliber
So
player.
over Dyson Daniels, you think he's going to be better than Dyson?
I think though. I think at the least because I mean I did want to
You
put
know, it could
Dyson.
be. He
Yeah,
could be.
if we were extending 25, Dyson would be 21 because I do have Klingon
Right.
at 20 like you do because I just love him as a defensive anchor. I think that guy can
Yeah.
anchor a top 10 defense in the league. I mean when he's on the court right now for Portland, he's anchoring a top 10 defense in the league when he's on the court.
Right.
But
Which
he's
is
just
crazy because Portland ain't even a great defense or a
right.
good defense.
I'm yeah, that's yeah. I mean they have some wings that are pretty good, but
They have some wings, but I mean, like overall with their
right.
backcourt and everything, and just
Yeah,
like they're not like an elite defense, but
I agree. Okay.
he's that impactful. Yeah.
hmm So yeah, I
And
just
Robert Williams is impactful. So when you see Robert Williams and how great he is on defense, which is one of the best defensive players in the NBA,
mhm,
Clingan's even more impactful on the Blazers than Robert Williams is. At
I
least the
agree.
games that I'm watching them.
Yep.
And I love what Robert Williams has brought too. But yeah, so that's our top 20. We have some similar ones, but you could definitely convince me to move a couple of my rankings around. But I had some honorable mentions, like Suggs, who could have made it for mine. Zion, obviously, because he didn't make it. Trey Murphy, Stephon Castle, who I wanted to put in there, but I just couldn't get him in there. And then Risha Shea, I think
hmm
that is deserved to probably be very close, just because his upside is probably pretty high, and he maybe could be one of these top 20 players very soon.
hmm
Um, Amen Thompson,
Yeah, I was gonna say
uh,
him.
yeah, he definitely deserves a shout out. I don't know any other players that you could think.
I'm not gonna lie. My guy was gonna be Amin. You kind of took him, so I'm not.
Oh, okay, but
It's fine. It's
yeah,
fine.
I went through it. Yeah, I went through it. Was just I was being thorough, but yeah, Anthony Black maybe.
Anthony
You know,
Black.
like
Yeah, that's
there's a
another one.
couple. Oh, you know who else is another one?
Hmm.
Grady Dick. I
Yeah,
like Grady Dick.
Yeah, Grady's really good.
So, some fun players. I love this list. Like this was even more fun to me than the top 25 players list, because the top 25 players list is like it's just more like for like the pod and for people, but like
hmm
this is like for the real hoop heads that want to get down into like the weeds of like the upside players like Koulibaly's and the Brandon Millers and shit like that. So yeah, that was fun, man. You can cook with me any day, bro.
Yes, sir. Always.
Yeah, so let's sign out because we went for 2 hours again. Said we was gonna keep it short, but we just like talking ball.
Yes,
So we
sir.
just
Ball up
all right,
top.
bro. Yeah, ball up top. Till next time. See you guys next week.